MATH007, and the course title is Fundamentals of Analytic Geometry. So for our lecture tonight, so these are the objectives. So at the end of this session or lecture, you should be able to learn the following: draw points on a real number line and angular coordinate system. And the other one is find the distance between 2 points and solve problems related to slope and inclination of a line. Okay? And finally, solve problems related to division of a line segment. So we have here some definition. We have important definition here is analytic geometry. So what does it mean, analytic geometry? So when you speak of analytic geometry, so it deals with the solution of geometric problems by the use of algebraic methods and the interpretation of algebraic equations geometrically as lines, curves, and surfaces. So we have here a very known person or man. We have what he called Rene. How do you read this name?
Rene Descartes.
So this is pronounced as Rene Descartes. No? Rene Descartes. So he is the father of analytic geometry, and he's a French mathematician. So basic concepts here. One of the basic concepts of analytic geometry is the representation of all real numbers by points on a directed line. So when we speak of directed line, class, we can say that from a certain position to another position, say for example from left to right or from right to left. So that is what we call or down, up, up, or down, or any direction from one point to another point. So yun ang sinasabing directed line. Alright? So the real numbers consist of positive numbers, the negative numbers, and zero. So remember this. This is a very important concept. Real numbers consist of positive numbers, negative numbers, and zero. And that can be represented in a directed line. Directed line below, like for example this one, we have a zero, or we mark it as 0.0 to stand as origin. So any measurement is taken from that point, the origin O, going to the right or going to the left. And our convention is the point moving from that original point to the right is positive, and from that point to the left considered as negative. Alright? So the directed line below with its points corresponding to real numbers is called a real number line. A directed line is a line on which one direction is chosen as positive and the opposite direction as negative. So as mentioned a while ago, from the origin to the right, positive, then from the origin to the left is negative. So yan ang ibig sabihin ng statement na to. Alright? Then the points A and B determine a segment, which we denote by AB or BA. Like for example this one. So the directed distance from A to B are denoted by AB. So there is an arrow above the letters A and B. And B to A is denoted by BA, and there's an arrow above. So for the first one, AB, meaning the line segment or the line is taken from A to B, and the other one is from B to A. So giving the distance from A to B as positive and distance from B to A as negative. Now if you look at the number line, if you look at this number line, Alright, so if you refer to this number line, and if we consider points A and B on that line, then we have from A to B going to the right, assuming that A is on the origin, or somewhere from the origin, or at the right of the origin, so that is positive, or even if in the left, but if it's going to the right, that is considered as positive. Then from B to A, so from opposite direction, as negative. Okay? Any questions so far, class? So we need to understand this concept para pagdating natin sa ibang topic, mas madali na lang sa inyo. Okay? Then next, the undirected distance or distances between A and B is the length of the segment which we take as positive. So undirected meaning walang sinasabi, class, kung saan sila nag-umpisa, from A to B ba or from B to A. So either direction, from A to B or B to A. So we call it undirected distances. So undirected distances between A and B is the length of the segment which we take as positive. In other words, if you take the distance from A to B or from B to A, so undirected siya, so we take it as positive. So the length of the line segment AB will be denoted by this symbol. We have, how do you read this one, class? You have AB and then there's two lines left and right. How do you read that one? Ito, class, paano natin basahin ito? Patricia, how do you read this? Or this one? So this is read as absolute value, AB or BA. Since we take it as positive, basta undirected siya, class, no, undirected distances, so that is always positive. We take it as positive, so that's why we write it as absolute value EB or absolute value BA. So pareho lang yan. So if AB is 3 and BA is negative 3, so we can consider the absolute value of that number or of that measurement. Take the positive value. Take note, you're taking the length. No, we talk about length. So length is always positive. Okay? Then we have here a theorem. So this is a very important theorem. If A, B, and C are 3 points of a directed line, then the directed distance determined by these points satisfy equations. So these are the equations. AB plus, so pag may nakita kayong arrow, class, directed siya. Directed distances. So directed distance AB plus directed distance BC equal to directed distance AC. Or we have directed distance EC plus directed distance CB equal to directed distance AB. And directed distance BA plus directed distance AC equal to directed distance BC. So theorem to, if A and B and C are 3 points of a directed line, then the directed distance determined by these points satisfy the equation. So ibig sabihin, class, tong mga points na to, point A, B, and C are on the same line. Alright? Now, rectangular coordinates. So when we speak of rectangular coordinates, so this time we have the vertical and horizontal. So kanina, we have only the horizontal line, the directed line segment, or the real number line. So this time we have a vertical line. So this vertical line meets the other line at the origin O. Okay? So kanina we have the real number line, horizontal, alright? And then we have the vertical line. So the horizontal and vertical lines meets at the origin. Itong point of intersection, class, of these two lines, ito yung tinatawag natin na origin or point O. And now the surface or the coordinate system is divided into 4 quadrants. Ang tawag nito, class, quadrants. Now we have quadrant number 1, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, quadrant number 4. Okay? Now, any points on each quadrant, meron siyang corresponding 2 values. If we consider, now we will use any point on this number line as A, and any points on this line B. We denote it at A and B. For horizontal A, for vertical is B. So any points, we can represent that as A and B. So in other words, for at any point on this quadrant 1, ang value ng A and value ng B is positive. Okay? Because going to the right, positive, yun yung sign convention natin. Now for the vertical line, going up, positive. Okay? Going to the left from the origin, negative. Going down from the origin, negative. So that's why in the first quadrant, we have any point on that belongs to the first quadrant, ang A and B niya, class, positive. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay, let's continue. For the second quadrant, you see on the second quadrant, ang x value niya or the horizontal value niya is going to the left from the origin, going to the left. So negative siya, class, negative. Alright? Then since ang value niya for the vertical, positive going up, in other words, any point belongs to the second quadrant, ang A niya is negative. Alright? Ang B is positive kasi going up. So kaya we have negative A, positive B. Now in the third quadrant, if you look at the third quadrant, from the origin, we always refer at the intersection of the origin. Going to the left, right? For example, at this point here. So nasa left siya. So ang A niya is going to the left. So negative ang A natin, right? Ang B natin nasa baba ng origin. So pababa. So ibig sabihin, negative ang B. So for the third quadrant, A and B, negative. Now on the fourth quadrant, you see on the fourth quadrant, class, ang A value niya is positive because going to the right siya. For example, may point ka dito. I will draw something here. No, meron ka, for example, you take a point from here. Okay? If you consider this point, if you look at this point, coordinate, no? Galing sa y-axis, b-axis, going to that point, going to this point. So, ang A natin is going to the right. Okay? Now, if you look at the point with respect to the horizontal, so pababa siya from the horizontal. So negative, no? Negative ang B natin, ang A positive kasi ganito yan, class. If you look at the point, ang rule kasi nito, if you look at, say for example, this point, if you look at this point, ang gagawin natin is we have to measure the distance from the vertical line, no, from the vertical line going to the right. Kung going to the right siya, but take note, ang reference nating vertical line dumaan sa origin. Kailang refer tayo sa origin. Nag-refer tayo sa origin. So, from the vertical line to the point, going to the right tayo. So, ibig sabihin yan, ang A natin is positive. Now, if you measure this point from the horizontal line, ito namang horizontal line ang reference natin ngayon. So, from the horizontal line, pababa siya, right? Going down. Are you following? So, it's going down, right? So, ibig sabihin, pababa siya from the horizontal line, negative. That's why we have a negative b here. Okay? Is it clear, class? So, you see here from the horizontal, from the vertical line to the point. So, ito yung point natin, itong point na to. So, this is going to the right. Okay? Itong isa naman, from the horizontal line going down, negative siya. That's why negative yung b natin. Okay? So, yung A and B, class, nakalagay dito A and B on the first quadrant and A and B on the second quadrant, A and B on the third quadrant, A and B on the fourth quadrant. Ito yung tinatawag, class, na coordinates. You understand that, class? So that is what you call coordinates. So when you speak of coordinates, for example, this point, ang ibig sabihin yan, if you consider this point, for example, okay, this point here, okay, that point. So itong A na to, class, ang ibig sabihin yan, that is the distance, from the vertical. Ang A natin, ang A is the distance from the vertical. Oh, this is the distance from the vertical to that point. Alright? So, ito yung tinatawag natin na A. No, A yan siya, A. Then, the distance from the horizontal to that point, horizontal line from that point, sorry, hindi masyadong straight. No, ito yung B natin. Okay, so that is the B. So this point here has the coordinates E and B. So A, ito yung A na to, is the distance from the vertical line to that point, and B is the distance from the horizontal line to that point. Okay, is that clear, guys? Clear ba sa inyo? Okay, very good. Alright, so we need to understand this kasi if it's not clear in your mind now, mahirapan kayo sa coming discussions natin. So, you better understand this one. If you have any questions, no, if this is not clear to you, then later on you can ask question in the discussion board. Okay, let's proceed to the next part. Okay, so as mentioned a while ago, so a pair of number x and y, in our discussion a while ago, we use A and B. No, instead of x and y, we use A and B. Kasi sa coming natin na discussions class, we will use x for the horizontal, okay, and then y for the vertical line. Now for this initial discussion about the rectangular coordinate system, I use A and B instead of x and y. So as mentioned in the next slide, baka ma-confuse kayo, ha. It says that a pair of numbers x and y in which the order of occurrence of numbers is distinguished is an ordered pair of numbers. So the x coordinate, ang x coordinate class, it says na, or tinatawag siya na abscissa. Another term for x coordinate, we call it abscissa. Now, abscissa of a point P is directed. No, this is a directed distance from the y-axis or from the vertical line to the point. So, any question, class, with this statement? Intindihan niyo to? Pag sinabi natin na x coordinate, or sometimes we call it abscissa, so iyon yung directed distance, yan siya from the y-axis or from the vertical line to the point. To be specific, class, para hindi tayo magkamali, sabihin natin na we use the x and y coordinates, meaning yung x or horizontal line, we call it an x axis, and the vertical line we call it as y axis. So we can say from this statement that the x coordinate or abscissa of a point P is the directed distance from the y axis to the point. The other one is, kasi sinabi paired, no? We have x for the first value, then we have y for the second value. So the second value is the y coordinate, or we call it ordinate. So the y coordinate or ordinate of a point P is the directed distance from the x-axis to the point. From the x-axis to the point. So tawag niya is ordinate. Alright? Now, distance. Next topic is about distance between 2 points. So, our task this time is to find out or determine or calculate the distance between 2 points. So, we have 3 scenarios for this particular parts of our topic class. Distance between 2 points. So, we can have distance between 2 points lying on the horizontal line, or we have distance between 2 points lying on the line on the vertical axis or vertical line. And the third one is distance between the 2 points that is on the slanted line or slant line. Slanted line or slant line is the line that is not horizontal, that is not, or that is neither horizontal nor vertical. Okay? You got the scenario, class?
Yes po.
Now, to find the length of a horizontal line segment joining 2 points, so what you are going to do is you have to find out the abscissa of the 2 points. No? To determine the length of a horizontal line segment joining the 2 points is the abscissa of the point on the right. Can you draw now on your paper, class? Can you draw now a vertical and horizontal line? Can you do it? Para ma-imagine nyo tong statement na to. Okay, so first you draw the vertical and horizontal line. Done it already? Then after that, you label the horizontal line as X. Lagyan mo siya ng X-axis. Then you have the vertical line as Y-axis. Or perhaps I can show it here, no? Pwede pala ako magka-annotate dito. So ganito yan, class. So you draw a line, the vertical and horizontal line. Okay, so I'll draw it here. Okay, that is my vertical line, this is my horizontal line. Then label this as X. Ito yung X-axis natin. Then this is our Y-axis. Okay, so assuming that you have 2 points here on this line horizontal, say this point here and this other point. Okay, so you are asked to measure the length of this. So ito siyang point na to, class. Meron siyang, sabihin natin na the distance from the y-axis towards that point. Tawagin natin na, by the way, we call this point as, say, for example, P2. Call it P2. Then this point here, let's call it as P1. Okay, P1 siya. Okay, now the distance from the y-axis towards this P2, which is this one also, right? Can you see it? Class? Can you see it? The distance. No, the distance from here. So the distance from the y-axis towards P2. Diba pareho lang yan sa dito? Right? You agree? Okay, so we can call this as x2. Ibig sabihin ito yung x coordinate of point 2. Okay? Then the distance from the y-axis towards the, I'll use another color here, towards this P1, that one. So we call this as, tawagin natin siyang x1. Okay, x1. So ang sabi dito class, no? Sabi dito that the length of horizontal line segment joining 2 points in the abscissa is the abscissa of the point on the right. So ano yung abscissa of the point on the right? Ano yung abscissa niya? Ano yung point na nasa right? So we have 2 points here. We have point P2, right? And then we have point P1. Okay? So, anong nasa right, class? Anong point nasa right? Now, looking at this point, class, this point 1 and point 2, ano yung point na nasa right side? P1 or P2? P2. Okay. So, ano yung abscissa ng P2? Ano ang abscissa ng P2, class? Ha? Ano ang abscissa ng P2? So, ang abscissa ng P2 is x2, di ba? Ito yon. Ibig sabihin, distance yan from the y-axis to that point. Yun yung abscissa, which is x2. Now, ang abscissa ng nasa left, which is P1, ito yung x1. So, sinabi dito, the length of a horizontal line segment joining 2 points is the abscissa of the point on the right. So, abscissa of the point on the right, which is x2. Right? Are you following? Minus, sabi dito, minus the abscissa of the point on the left. So, abscissa of the point on the left, ito yung point na sa left. So, ito yung right, ito yung left. So, ang abscissa nitong nasa left is x1. Ibig sabihin, minus x1. Right? Minus x1. So, ito yung distance, no? Length of the horizontal line. So, ibig sabihin, the length of the horizontal line joining 2 points, so ito yun, length, meaning length from P2, sorry, I will change the color. So length between P1 and P2, so ang length nito, we call it L. If you call it L, so L therefore is just the difference. So L is equal to x2 minus x1. So are you following?
Yes, sir.
Understanding nyo? So ito yung ibig sabihin, class. Sorry. So, ito yung ibig sabihin ng statement na to. Alright? So, this is what is meant by the length of horizontal line segment joining 2 points is the abscissa of the point on the right minus the abscissa of the point on the left abscissa, which is x1, this one, and x2 sa right, ito yung nasa left. So length is just x2 minus x1. Okay? So again, the length of a vertical line segment, which is in our picture, this is from P1 to P2. This is L. Ito yung hinahanap. Joining two points is the ordinate of the upper. So ito yung upper point natin, which is the ordinate. Anong ordinate niya? So ito yung upper point natin. Ang ordinate natin, we can call the ordinate as y2, since that is P2, so tawagin natin siyang y2. Okay, then ordinate minus the ordinate of the lower point. So ordinate meaning the distance, no, from the y-axis towards this point, or this one. So this is our y1. Okay, so the length, therefore, is just, so ano yung length natin? L, no, from this definition, L is simply, no, ordinate of the upper points. So ordinate meaning y values ng upper point is y2. So this is simply y2 minus ordinate of the lower. So the ordinate of the lower is y1, right? So minus y1. Okay? So ito yung length, no? Length of a vertical line segment, no, from our illustration. So ito yung length. So you simply subtract the ordinate of the upper point, meaning y value of the point of the upper point, minus the y ordinate, or the ordinate of the lower point. Okay, clear na sa inyo ni class? Is it clear to you? Okay, very good. Now let's proceed, no? So yun ang second scenario, ha. Ang first scenario is distance between 2 points on the horizontal line, that is lying on the horizontal or lying horizontally. And the second scenario is the distance between 2 points on the vertical line. Okay, now the third one is, the third scenario is when the 2 points are on the slant line, or this time we are asked to solve for the length of a slant line segment. So ibig sabihin, class, length of the line segment. So ito yung scenario natin. Again, we have to draw our horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, so ito yung horizontal vertical lines natin. So again, para masanay tayo, we always label it. This is our X and this is our Y. Now if you have a line that say something like this, ito yung line natin, and you're asked, so assuming a straight na siya, or teka, baka may paraan to maging straight. Okay, straight line. Hindi talaga naging straight. Basta assuming class straight line yan siya. Okay, so assuming we have 2 points here. Say this is the 1 point and this is another point here. Okay, so we call this point as P1, and let's call this other point as P2. Class, pwede siya magbaliktad, ha. Pwede yung P1 mo, yun ang P2 mo, yung P2, yung P1 mo. It doesn't matter. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so ito yung 2 points natin. Now, if you're asked to find the distance or find the length, Now you're asked to find the length between these 2 points. So anong length yan? Assume na straight line yan siya. So what is the length? So paano natin i-calculate ang length nito? So how to find that length? So the formula is like this. So actually this is a formula class stated in words. It says that the length of slant line segment joining 2 points, so ang points natin P1 and P2, is the square root. So this is the length, no? We call it L, which is length. Is means equals the square root, no? It's a square root. Okay, so you write the square root here is a square root of the sum of the squares of the difference of the abscissas and the difference of the ordinates. So ano ibig sabihin yan, class? Ibig sabihin yan, ito yung P1 natin. So ang P1 natin has the coordinates of, ang coordinates ng P1 coordinates of P1 x1 and y1. Okay? Kama yan siya. y1. So x1 and y1. So ito yung coordinates ni P1. So anong ibig sabihin ng x1? So again, yung x1 ibig sabihin yan, ang x1 is the distance, no? Distance from the y-axis towards that point. So ito yung x1. Yan ang ibig sabihin yan. Ano yung y1 dyan? Ang y1 is the distance from the x-axis towards that point. So ito yung y1 natin. Okay? Are you following? Now, yung x2 naman, yung x2, ang coordinates ng x2 class, no, the coordinates of x2, ang coordinates ni x2 are, coordinates ni P2, x2, and y2. Medyo mabagal tong. Okay, so anong ibig sabihin ni x2 and y2? Si x2 is distance yan from the y-axis towards P2. Ito si x2. Ito yung si x2. Then si y2 is the distance from the x-axis towards that point P2. Yan si y2. Okay? Now, after labeling this, then following this statement, it says that the length of a line segment, ito yung L, no, length, is equal to the square root, no, the square root of the squares of the difference of the abscissas. Difference of abscissas class, we have the abscissas here, x1 and x2. So, ibig sabihin, you can have x2 minus x1, then square natin ito, plus, square yan siya, plus and difference of ordinates. So ano yung ordinates? Ang ordinates natin is we have y2 minus y1. Tapos square natin ito. Minus y1 and then you square it also. So square. Okay? So ito yung ibig sabihin ng statement na to from the formula. So this is our formula for finding the length of the slant line segment. Okay, are you following? Do you understand, class? No? Kasi hindi masyadong clear yung drawing kanina. So ito yun, ha. We have consider these 2 points, P1, P2. So coordinates sa x1, y1, x2, y2. So if you're asked to find the distance or calculate the distance or the length between these 2 points and that point, so yun yung pinakita nating formula kanina. So the formula is D, or you can use L in a liter, can represent this length. So in my presentation I use L instead of D, but that's the same, class. Okay, so it says that it's just the square root of the difference of the abscissas. So ito yung abscissas niya, x1 and x2. It doesn't matter, no? Mabaliktad man yan siya, class. Magawa mo siyang x1 minus x2, walang problema yan. Kasi when you square that one, that still becomes the difference. You square that one, mapositive man negative yan siya, that's still the same number, right? Plus the square of the difference of the ordinates. So yun yung ibig sabihin ng statement kanina. Okay? Now let's take some example. Now what's your answer here? Find the distance between 2 points. The points are P1, 4, 0 ang coordinates. P2, coordinates 16 and 0. So what's the answer? What's the distance between P1 and P2? Based on our discussions, class. Any answer? Patricia? What's the distance or what's the length between P1 and P2? How about Alisa?
Wait tapos.
And Ram, can you work out on the second problem? What's your answer, Ram? For the second problem. Second problem. Example number 2. So the answer for the first problem is 12. Okay? So is it clear?
Opo, sir.
Then for the second one, sa second one we have L. Now L, we are asked to solve for the distance from A to B. So you can put a subscript here as L from A to B. A to B, sorry. So distance from A to B, and now we're talking for the horizontal. You have seen already the solution there. So now for the vertical, so it says that the distance from A to B, no, from A to B, right? No, from A to B. So pag vertical, ano yung formula natin for vertical? So L is equal to length or the distance, no, we just
Y2 minus Y1.
so we have from the formula we have y2 minus y1. Ano yung definition natin, class, sa distance pag vertical ang pag-usapan? So it says that the ordinate of the upper point, di ba? So ibig sabihin, saan dito ang ating y2? We are talking of AB. So now our distance, so we use the subscript AB, no, from A to B, no, from A to B. So the distance or the length from A to B is equal to, ano yung ang definition natin kanina is just the difference between the abscissa or ordinate, no? Ordinate of the upper point. Ito yung upper point. AB. Ito yung upper natin. So, ang ordinate niya, anong ordinate nitong point na to? Class?
Ano?
Anong ordinate nito? Ano yung ordinate niya? Kasi ang definition natin, pag vertical na, length of the segment for the vertical line, so it says that ordinate of the upper point. Now we're considering AB, no? AB. So AB. So vertical line ito. So upper, sabi na ordinate of the upper point minus the ordinate of the lower point. So ano yung y2 natin dito? Anong y1 natin?
Yung y2 po is 5.
Okay, so ang 5, ito yung y2 natin. Tapos ang y1 natin is ang
Negative 2.
alright, so ito yung y1, negative 2. So from the formula, we have y2 minus y1. Ibig sabihin, ang ating y2 which is 5, okay, 5, then minus, no, minus kasi minus y1. Ang y1 natin is negative 2. So ibig sabihin 5 minus 2, so we have 7. Okay, that's why ang answer natin dito is 7. Okay? Is that clear, class? Now, how about okay. Next is length, no? Length of BC, no? From B to C. So, ang titingnan nating points ngayon, ito naman dalawa, di ba? Itong dalawang to. Okay? So, we have ganun pa rin, we have y2 minus y1, pero this time, anong y2 natin? So, ito yung upper natin, ito yung lower, di ba? So, in this case, ito naman ang ating y2, and this time ito ang ating y1. Are you following, class?
Yes.
So again, from the formula, y2 minus y1, we have 8 minus 5, di ba? So this is our length from B to C. This is from B to C. Okay, so therefore, length from B to C is equal to 3. Okay, class? Clear? Slant line. Okay, for the slant line, find the distance between points P1, coordinates 4 and 1, P2, 7 and 3. So what is our answer here?
Wait lang po, sir.
So, ang maganda nito, class, you have to plot the points para makita mo yung situation.
Sir, 5 po.
So the answer is, so how did you solve that one? We have distance equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Diba? So anong x2 natin? So our x2 is 7 minus 4. You square that one. Then plus minus 3 minus 1 square.
Squared.
So 3 squared plus 4 squared. So square root of 9 plus 16 or equal to square root of 25 equal to 5. Anong answer mo?
5.
So the answer is 5. For example, this one. So using the formula, we are asked to solve for the distance between 2 points, P1 and P2. So ano yung formula natin? You can use the slant formula, ha? You can use this D equal to, ito yung another solution niya, D equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared then plus y2 minus y1 squared. Y2 minus y1 squared. So pakita ko lang sa inyo class na even this formula will work. Okay? So in this given, we have ang 4 natin, ito yung x1, right? Tapos ang y1 natin is 0. Then here, this is our x2. This is 4.2 and ito yung y2 natin. So if you are going to plug in these values to the formula, so you have x2 which is 16, tapos minus x1 which is 4, then you square it, then ang y2 natin is, what is our y2? Y2 natin is 0, y1 natin is 0 also. So 0 minus 0, you square that one, so that is still 0. So 0 man yan siya. So anong natira? So what is left is only square root of 16 minus 4 which is 12. Alright? So 12 ito, and then you square it. Tapos meron kang square root, di ba? Square root of the square. So it's just like you are canceling this out, right? Kasi ang root nito is 2, ang power nito is 2. So it's just like equivalent lang to siya class sa ganito. It's just the same as 12 yung square niya, which yung power niya or exponent is 2. Then yung radical dito class, understood yan siya na raised to a power 1/2. Raised to a power 1/2. Alright, then from the law of exponent, now you have the law of exponent class sa algebra. Ang rule nito is ganito yan. If you have x to the power m, raised to a power n, so ang you have exponent here ng x m, tapos may exponent pa siyang n. So ang rule nito from the law of exponent is just you just multiply the exponents. You have m times n, so x to the power m times n, times n. So ibig sabihin here you have exponent na 2, then you have another exponent 1/2, so 2 times 1/2 is equal to 1, right? So 2 times 1/2 is 1, so ibig sabihin 12 to the power 1 is simply equal to 12. That's why yung answer natin is 12. Okay? You understand? So ganon din kung gamitin mo doon sa second problem yung vertical, you will come up the same answer. Okay, so I hope it's clear with you. Okay, we'll proceed our. Do you have any questions?
It's a sir, naka-upload na po.
Sorry?
Naka-upload na po ba sa video?
Yes, nasa BBL na to. Matagal na upload na yan. Okay, so I need to see your participation, no, in our discussion forum. And class, now that you have seen how it works when we have the synchronous, ito yung online class in a synchronous manner. Now, you said that you prefer asynchronous. So I'll just take the video. I do the video of the topic that I'm going to discuss to you on the next session, and then I'll give you the link where to access it. And then if you have any question, you can go to the discussion forum. You can say anything. You can raise questions. But I normally go there during our scheduled time to check if you have any questions, if you need some clarifications. Okay? But if you change your mind, if you want to have our class as synchronous, you may also tell me. Okay? Do you have any idea, class, what is the advantages of the online class synchronous and online class asynchronous? Can you now differentiate?